Hey, fourth graders, this is Miss Walgie, and today is Monday. We are going to talk about elements of drama. So what are we learning and doing today? This week we will learn about dramas. Today we'll read an excerpt, which is a small part, from Alice in Wonderland called A Mad Tea Party. We will look at the elements of dramas, annotate the text, and we'll answer test style questions. So here's our learning targets for today. We want to be able to identify elements of drama. We want to be able to annotate a text. We want to identify character, setting, and plot in the text. And of course, we want to answer test style questions. So what is a drama? Over the past few weeks of school, we've talked a lot about poetry, and we've also talked about prose. Remember, prose is what most writing is. So when you read a book, it's likely that that book is written in prose unless it's written as a poem, like Love That Dog, or like a drama like we will look at today. A drama is a story that's written to be performed by actors. So think about maybe your favorite movie or TV shows, or if you've ever gone to a play. The people who act in all of those things, they get a script that is a drama. A drama still has setting, characters, plot, and theme. Dramas are broken up into sections. Instead of chapters, we see acts and scenes when we read drama. And we see dialogue appear after a character's name. Unlike prose, though, we won't see quotation marks when a character is speaking. Here's some more information. So this chart tells us that a drama is a piece of writing that's meant to be acted out for audiences, like we just talked about. We see the same story elements as we do in fiction stories. When we read a drama, we will see stage directions. Stage directions tell the characters what to do and where to go. Usually it's written in italics, which is that slanted font that you see sometimes when you're typing on your computer or maybe when you're reading a story. Also, it can be in parentheses or brackets. We also see dialogue, like we just talked about, that tells us what the characters are saying. We see acts in dramas. Those are groups of connected scenes. And a scene is a smaller section of an act. Each scene continues from the last one to help build on the plot. All right, so we're going to get ready now to read A Mad Tea Party. Let's get started. All right, fourth graders. Here is our text today. So it says from chapter 7, A Mad Tea Party. Right away, I see major differences when I'm looking at this text compared to the text that we worked with so far this year. I'm going to go ahead and point out those differences now. So the first thing that catches my attention is that I have a cast of characters. Anytime you see a cast of characters listed, it is a drama. So I'm going to draw a box around this. I've got a cast of characters. So I see Alice, the March Hare, the Hatter, and a Dormouse are the characters in this text. I'm also going to go ahead and look over this text. I see another major difference. This text isn't written in prose, which is paragraphs and sentences, and it's also not written as a poem. It's its own kind of text. So we see here that each character who speaks has a line that tells those characters to speak. I'm going to go ahead and just point out those characters real quick. So in this drama, when the character is speaking, their name is bold and it's written in all caps. to the second page, almost done. Remember, you can always follow along with me by printing the version that you have on Kidum off. It's attached at the top. If you want to do that, you can pause and catch up now. All right, so my orange pen is for the cast of characters and to underline each of the characters that I see. I'm also going to just stop for just a second because I forgot to do what all good readers do when they have a new text in front of them, which is highlight the title. And I'm going to go ahead and highlight those lines too. It's really nice that someone already numbered these lines for me. So I've got 1 through 26 on the front page and 27 through 36 on the second page. Okay. So the next thing I want to point out is I want to look at the stage directions. So the stage directions appear after a character's name in parentheses here. So the first example I see is that, oh, there's two versions. So the first thing I was talking about is that we see here on line 6, looks around in parentheses. We also see in line 4 that no character speaks in line 4, but Alice does something. So I'm going to go ahead and underline that in pink. And I'm just going to look on each line for those stage directions. See it again here. Again. All right, let's go on to the next page. All right, so you might have noticed, oh, and let's look at 35. So 35 is nice and long. All right, so you might have noticed that I skipped the first line here. The reason is because this is not stage directions. This is the description of the scene or the setting. So we can tell it's different because it's written in italic font, which is a little bit like slanted is what we see here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to box this. And I'm going to write setting. All right, so I'm going to make a little key up here for myself. So orange is my characters. And cast of characters. The teal color was my setting. And pink was stage directions. All right, let's go ahead and get ready to read. While we read, we're looking at the elements of poetry that we've already pointed out, and we are still thinking about the characters and the story like we did last week. So here we go. From chapter 7, A Mad Tea Party. Cast of characters: Alice, the March Hare, the Hatter, a Dormouse. There was a table set out under a tree in front of the house, and the March Hare and the Hatter were having tea at it. A Dormouse was sitting between them, fast asleep, and the other two were using it as a cushion, resting their elbows on it and talking over its head. The table was a large one, but the three had crowded together. At one corner of it When the March Hare and the Hatter saw Alice approaching, they cried out. So this sets the scene for us. It tells us what the scene looks like, and if actors are going to act this out, it tells them like not only where they should be on the stage, but what's going on, just kind of building that background. March Hare and Hatter, no room, no room. Alice, what? There's plenty of room. Alice sits at the end of the table. The Hatter stares at her. March Hare, have some juice. Alice looks around, but I don't see any juice. March Hare, there isn't any. I'm going to pause right here for a second. It is important to point out that although I'm reading this entire text to you, if we were to watch this drama, we would not hear a narrator read this part from line 1 to us. We would also not hear anyone read the things that are in parentheses or that are underlined in pink in general. This tells the actor what to do. Alice sits down, Alice sits at the end of the table, the Hatter stares at her. We would see that happen on a stage, but we wouldn't hear someone say that. All right, let's go back. So the March Hare said, there isn't any. Alice, then it wasn't very civil of you to offer it. Interesting. She said it wasn't very civil of them to offer it. If I don't know what civil means, I could use what I just read to help me fill in the blanks. So I know that, first of all, these characters are shouting no room when Alice is walking to a table, and that she was just offered juice, but then was told that there isn't any. So I think that's kind of odd. If that happened to me in real life, I would think that that wasn't very polite, maybe even a little bit rude. So I could say that something that wasn't very civil could possibly mean rude. I'm gonna write that here. March Hare, it wasn't very civil of you to sit down without being invited. Oh, that confirms my thought that not being very civil could mean rude, because I could put that here. I could say it was rude of you to sit down without being invited, and that makes sense. Alice, I didn't know it was your table. It's laid for a great many more than 3. So laid would be it's set. So the table has like plates, napkins, silverware, etc. So it's laid for a great many more than 3 would mean it's set for many people. Hatter, your hair wants cutting. Alice, you should learn not to make personal remarks. It's very rude. So personal remarks, I know personal means about someone and remarks means comments. So those would be comments about someone. Hatter widens his eyes. Why is a raven like a writing desk? Alice thinks. I believe I can guess that. March Hare, do you mean you think you can find the answer to it? Alice, exactly so. March Hare, then you should say what you mean. Alice, I do, at least I mean what I say. That's the same thing, you know. Hatter, not the same thing a bit. You might just as well say that I see what I eat is the same thing as I eat what I see. March Hare, you might as well say that I like what I get is the same thing as I get what I like. Dormouse, sleepily, you might just as well say that I breathe in my sleep is the same thing as I sleep when I breathe. Hatter, it is the same thing with you. The conversation stops. Alice thinks, oh, look what I missed. I missed stage directions. Hatter, have you guessed the riddle yet, Alice? No, I give up. What's the answer? Hatter, I haven't the slightest idea. Marcher, nor I. Alice, I think you might do something better with your time than waste it asking riddles which have no answer. Everyone is silent for a moment. Marcher, take some more tea. I've had nothing yet, so I can't take more. You mean you can't take less? It's very easy to take more of nothing. Alice, nobody asked your opinion. Hatter, who's making personal remarks now? So he's kind of giving her back her own comments there, her own kind of sass. Alice finally got up in disgust. So disgust, I know, means disgusted, like being unhappy about something, offended almost. Alice finally got up in disgust and walked off. The dormouse fell asleep instantly, and neither of the others took the least notice of her going. She looked back once, hoping they would call her back, and when she turned back, they were trying to put the dormouse into the teapot. Alice, at any rate, I'll never go there again. It's the stupidest tea party I ever was at in my life. All right, let's get ready to answer some questions. All right, question 1 says, which word is a synonym for plenty? Remember, synonym sounds like similar. It means a similar or almost the same meaning. So we're talking about the word plenty. A says insufficient, B says enough, C says a few, D says inadequate. I know that insufficient means not enough. So I see right away that I have two words with opposite meanings. A few, I could say, was similar to not enough. And inadequate means in again, when we see in as a prefix, it tells us that it means not. So this means not adequate. You could also say that it's related to not being enough. So I know that there's three things here in this first question that have similar meanings: inadequate, a few, and insufficient. So that tells me that the only answer choice for synonym for plenty is B, enough. Number 2 says, which is the correct way to segment the syllables in the word personal? Remember, when we're finding syllables, we can pound it out, personal. Or you could take your hand and put it under your chin and say the word and feel how many times does your chin drop. Personal. So I need you right now to pause the video, and in Kidam, I need you to answer, where should we segment the syllables in the word personal? All right, when you're ready, push play. Line 23 states, the conversation stops, Alice thinks. This is an example of, so let's go back to the text because it tells us what line to look at. It says line 23 states, the conversation stops, Alice thinks. Oh, that is the line that I forgot to underline the first time. Remember, I underlined that in pink. So we know that those are stage directions. Let's look at the answer choices here. A says cast of characters. A cast of characters will always be written either at the front of a drama if it's a book, like if it's a long drama with many acts and scenes. If it's like this, if it's a text that we're reading or an excerpt of a drama, we will see it listed at the top like this. We will see the cast listed first before we start reading the text. So we know cast of characters isn't correct. The setting was also near the top. The setting was those italic words that described to us what was happening before we started reading. Setting was also not a correct choice. So that tells us it's either dialogue or stage directions. Remember, the only time we see dialogue is when we see a character with a colon, which is 2 dots after their name, and what they're saying. That is what they would speak. We underline this in pink because this would not be read out loud. The conversation stops. Alice thinks. That is stage directions. Let's go on to question 4. Question 4. What is the purpose of paragraph 1? All right, we just looked at paragraph 1, but I want you to think for a second. Remember, we only talk about the word stanza when we use poetry or when we read poems. So stanza is something that when you're reading a drama and you're asked a question and the answer is stanza, we should eliminate it right away because we will never see stanzas in dramas. Description of the scene, cast of characters, or stage directions. So when I read this to you, I said it was the setting, which is true, but you could also say that this is the description of the scene, because it sets the scene before we start reading, so we know where it's taking place and what's happening. So we know that this isn't the cast of characters and it's not the stage directions. It is the description of scene. The description of the scene will always be at the very, very top before those characters start speaking. And usually it is after cast of characters, just like we see here. Read the section from the play below. Then choose which element of drama it matches. Alice, I didn't know it was your table. It's laid out for a great many more than 3. This is an example of, is this A, setting, B, dialogue, C, cast of characters, or D, stage directions? I want you to pause the video right now and I want you to go answer this in Kidum. When you're ready, push play. All right, number 6. Which of the following elements from chapter 7, A Mad Tea Party, makes it a drama? Okay, 4th graders, when you see questions like this, you have to think about what we just learned about drama. We talked about that it's its own type of writing. It's not prose and it's not poetry. So we need to eliminate the things that are found in things other than dramas. So we know that paragraphs are prose. Rhyming patterns are poems. Facts about the character, well, facts makes me think prose because it makes me think, is it nonfiction or am I getting background information? The only thing here that can be an element of drama is D, stage directions. The rest of these things are found in other types of writing. Which word has the same vowel sound as the word table? Say table to yourself at home. And then in Kidum, I want you to go answer, is it A, B, C, or D? Which word has the same vowel sound as table? All right. Number 8, using context clues. What is the meaning of the word civil as it's used in lines 8 and 9? Well, we didn't find the exact meaning of the word civil, but we talked about what it meant when the character said it wasn't very civil. We said that means that they must be acting rude, to say it wasn't very civil of you to offer it. So it was rude to offer something that they didn't have, just like we heard the March Hare say it wasn't very civil of you to sit down without being invited, so it was rude to sit down without being invited. So right now in Kidam, I want you to answer number 8. What is the meaning of the word civil as it's used in lines 8 and 9? Is it A, well-mannered, B, universal, C, civilian, or D, rude? All right, go finish that up now, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 2 of a Mad Tea Party. Great job today. Bye.